made it into Tokyo, or rather Narita. We're about an hour outside of Tokyo. So been on the plane for about 13 hours. We made it.
My name's Brandon Stouffer, and I'm a powerlifter.
What's a typical day in the life of Brandon Stouffer?
So I wake up every day around 4 a.m. Typically, we'll go ahead and have like my first meal around then, usually a bagel, maybe like a cup of coffee or a cup of hot tea, and that's when I start reading. So I read for about an hour. Typically, right now I'm rereading Gone with the Wind. I haven't read it for years. Around 5:30, I'll stop reading, go ahead and get ready, kind of piddle around, do like some stuff for school, and then around 7 o'clock in the morning is when I go to the gym. When I'm about 4 weeks before competition, I'll do 2-a-days. So I'll start at 7 a.m. I'll get back to the apartment around like 8 o'clock, or sometimes around 8:20 depending on the workout. I'll go to class, hate myself all day while I'm in law school, and then right after class I'll go back to the gym again. And so pretty much that, when I get back from my gym in the afternoon, my gym session in the afternoon, I will go ahead and finish up whatever law school work I have to do, and then mainly just probably watch TV or read, or just relax, kick back, and then it all restarts.
Alrighty, so I've never been to a bench meet. Well, what is a bench meet? How does it work? What's the typical day like?
So I compete in USA Powerlifting, which is part of IPF, which is the best drug-tested federation on the planet. So what we do is we have 2-hour weigh-ins, which is 2 hours before the anticipated start time. You have to get to the meet venue, and you weigh in. You have to weigh in legless briefs, so I stick with the classic tighty whities, which are not very flattering. About 10 to 15 minutes before I'm up to start, that's when I'll start warming up. My dad is my coach, and so he and I will start off with bands just to loosen up my shoulders, and then we'll go into my standard bench warm-up, which is a lot different than most other powerlifters. So my bench warm-up is 135 for 30, 225 for 10, 225 for 20, 315 for 10, and 405 for 2. After that is when I'll go ahead and try to pick my opening weight, and that's where things get really challenging. So in powerlifting, whatever weight you list, you can never go below that. So if I pick 455 pounds as my opening weight and I go out there and I can't lift it, I can't come back out and say, all right, I want to try 425. So you have to pick a weight that you know you can get so you don't bomb out, but also one that is not going to set you back really far. There's no benefit in going out there saying, all right, I'm going to open up a 135 and then I'm going to go after 455. So there's really a kind of math breaking down in it. You have to try to space out your warm-ups and your lifts in a way that will allow you to do these jumps and play the game of trying to do the bare minimum to beat your other competitors, but at the same time you also have to pick everything just right. After my opening lift, I will probably, typically for me, I usually will always be last. I'm just now coming out of junior, so I'll be in the open, so more often than not, then I'll probably be going first, or within the top 5 going. After your first lift, you have 90 seconds to tell them your second lift. So you don't really have a lot of time. You have enough time once you get off the platform and you see the lights pop up that, hey, you got your lift, let's go. You have to look at your coach, say, felt good or felt bad, and then you have to make a guess. They judge a bench based off what lights. So right next to the platform will be this big horizontal box, and it has 3 light bulbs on it, and they either go white or they go red. There's different rules. So for example, your head can't come off the bench, your hips can't come off the bench, your heels have to stay connected to the floor, and to start a bench, you have to wait for them to tell you can unrack it, then you have to wait for them to tell you can start it. So you unrack, you have to hold, they'll tell you to start. You start, you bring it down to your chest, and then you pause it until the bar comes to a complete stop and your head judge tells you to press. You'll then press, you have to hold it up here at the top again, and then wait for them to say rack. And once you rack, your lift is done. So if your head stayed down, your hips will stay down, and your heels will stay down, and you followed all the commands, you should get 3 white lights. You can get 2 white lights and 1 red and still have the lift count. 2 reds or more, it's a dead lift, you didn't get it, you're screwed.
So I've got to jump in here. Everybody's seen a lot of the people out and about, the big power lifters, your big bodybuilders, and they're all almost inhumanly big. So you were mentioning that this stuff was drug tested. Is it really drug tested, or can we get away with just like a little bit?
It's 100% drug tested. So when you go to a local meet, they do random drug selection, which is they'll take about, I want to say 10% of all the competitors that are there. And typically they'll focus on the ones that have done something that most people would consider, not human. But when you go to an international meet, for example, I went to the World Bench Press Championships in May 2019 in Japan, and there was mandatory drug testing before you were allowed to go. If you missed your drug testing time, you were fined and possibly kicked off the team. They test you for everything. We follow the Olympic drug testing guidelines. There's so many things we can't have. It takes about 5 pages just to tell you what you're not allowed to have in your body. And more often than not, a lot of people try to steer clear of a lot of things. For example, I don't take a leg or dig 24-hour because I had a powerlifter tell me that there's something in it that we're not allowed to have. And that fear alone, I have no idea. I've looked it up. I can't seem to find it that well, but it's not worth the risk. Are there drugs in sports? Absolutely. But when it comes to USA Powerlifting and the IPF, I'm willing to put up a lot of what I have to say the fact that it's the best drug tested thing out there. That being said, there are people that take a lot of supplements. I'm definitely one of them. There are some supplement companies out there that put in a lot of illicit things that obviously you can't have. But thankfully with the IPF, they test for those things, and those things will come back, and those athletes will actually be sanctioned. They'll face sanctions. They'll be kicked out. I use Old School Labs. I've used them now for about a year, and probably my favorite thing about them is that they don't have a proprietary blend. So anyone that saw the documentary Bigger, Stronger, Faster can tell you that when you buy a supplement, there's this thing called the proprietary blend. It's this dumb thing that they list in the ingredients. It's the first thing, and so it'll be something like Monster Mass Muscle Gainer, and that'll be it. It won't tell you anything else that's in it. And it's because there's a law that says the fact that you don't have to disclose your personal recipe. Some supplement companies will put in just rice flour as filler to save money. Others will go ahead and put in, pretty much your anabolic agents just for better results, and so more word of mouth. Old School Labs doesn't do that. They list out every single thing that's in there, and I've felt great results. I've been supplementing since I was in the 7th grade. I've tried just about everything in GNC, and Old School Labs is by far the best supplement product out there on the market.
And just one final question for you today. What does going to the Arnold mean to you?
I first heard about the Arnold Classic when I was about 5 years old. I remember my dad grew up in the 70s and into the 80s. And so obviously he was, my dad was reading about Arnold when he was bodybuilding, and he was watching Arnold on the big screen. The Arnold Classic is the premier exposition. Everyone that's an athlete wants to go to the Arnold Classic. Everyone. And when I first heard about it when I was 5, I remember I looked my dad dead in the eye and I said, I'm going to go. And for years it was just, I wanted to go watch it. But, my dad's a police officer, my mom's a hairdresser, we're not in the Fortune 500, and when you're a couple states away, that's not a really inexpensive trip, especially when there's other family vacation ideas you'd like to do. But to go to the Arnold, to get to compete at the Arnold, it means that all the years, all the days, all the times I've missed out on doing fun things like going to the bar with friends, it means it was all worth it. And I could not be more excited.